So my clock shows 10:30 Pacific time. This is Carolyn Hauser. Welcome, everybody, to our second call in the Moving into Wholeness call series that I'm bringing to you and to myself. I'm really excited today to have our guest, Amrita Grace, here. I'm looking forward to learning some new things. I'm really grateful that Amrita and my path has crossed because she's kind of on the same mission than I am, and it's always great to have find like-minded and kindred spirits. So Amrita is an emerging leader in the field of women's sexual wholeness and empowerment, and she herself has made the journey to successful journey from childhood sexual abuse to sexual wholeness herself. And she's a beautiful and healthy living example of what's possible. In her work and in her practice, she offers powerful tools for attracting amazing relationships, living a life of harmony and joy, and transforming sexual wounding into powerful life purpose. She's the author of Reclaiming Aphrodite, The Journey to Sexual Wholeness, and she's here with us today to share her keys to 5 keys to sexual wholeness. Welcome, Amrita.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for that beautiful introduction. I'm really honored to be invited to present with you today. And I've had the privilege of reviewing your book, and it's just gorgeous. I'm so excited about its impending publication. And I know that Blossom is going to be a really amazing and powerful tool for people who are ready to recover from childhood sexual abuse. It's what I loved most about it was how I felt so many strong similarities between my book and yours. And so I definitely feel a sisterhood and a shared mission and vision, as you mentioned. And so I'm, really honored to be with you today. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. So let's get started. I would like to invite you to grab a pen and paper and write down your answer to a couple of questions. If you're driving a car, just say your answer out loud. Okay, so the first question is, are you ready to experience yourself as sexually healthy and whole? And the next question is, are you ready for a deeply connected, intimate relationship? If you answered yes to either of these questions, you are in the right place. So since we're going to be spending a little bit of time together, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself so that you have a context for who I am and why you should even listen to me. For the last 6 years, I've lived in Maui, and I recently married an incredible man who adores me. I'm on the verge of turning 50, and I've never been more fit, slender, and youthful than I am right now. I work at home and just have so much freedom in my schedule, and I travel extensively to both attend and facilitate really fun and exciting workshops and visit friends and family along the way. It hasn't always been this way. I grew up in a broken home with a violent stepfather who was sexually abusive, and by the time I was in my mid-30s, after 2 decades of acting out sexually, my life was a train wreck. After a particularly wild weekend with a couple I had met at a swingers event, I returned home to find my husband had left, and I finally hit rock bottom, which was a really good place to be. I vowed then to turn and face my childhood sexual abuse and the resulting sexual addiction. So I spent the first few months from that bottoming out place seeking therapy. But the therapists I met had very little context for sexual addiction at that time. They either thought it was only for men or they dismissed me as being overly dramatic. But I was stubborn and determined. I looked into 12-step resources and decided that that was really not the right path for me, specifically because of the idea that once you're an addict, you're always an addict. I didn't really resonate with that idea. So I sought alternative ways to recover, forged my own recovery path, knowing that I could fully recover from my sexual addiction. The first healing steps I took were across 1,200-degree hot coals, led by a certified firewalk instructor who was a high priestess of the goddess. I didn't even really know what that meant at the time, but I became part of her circle of women and was eventually ordained as a high priestess myself. That women's circle was a really powerful container for my healing process over the next few years and really helped me heal my wounds with the sisterhood. I continued to seek traditional therapy and was able to address a lot of the impact of my childhood sexual abuse, but there was still a missing piece around my sexuality. And I continued to struggle with my sexual energy and managing it appropriately. I could feel that my sexual energy was all over the place, and I just didn't know what to do about it. So 7 years ago, I found my way to the Divine Feminine Institute, which is a school that offers training in sexual healing. Once I graduated with my spiritual sexual educator certification, I became part of the staff and have been practicing and teaching the art of sexual wholeness ever since. Now I'm creating and presenting my own sexual wholeness and empowerment workshops for women called Reclaiming Aphrodite. And I'm drawing on my own successful recovery experience, creating a unique alchemy of sexual healing, sacred dance and movement, feminine archetypes, and sisterhood connections that is a powerful catalyst for women's sexual empowerment. So enough about me. Let's focus on you. What I'm offering you today is a taste of what's available to assist you in your journey to sexual wholeness. There's an opportunity here to get just a little taste of some of the tools that I regularly use myself to stay in balance and harmony, as well as some valuable resources that I'm really happy to share with you. Now, it's possible that you may feel uncomfortable at some point in this call as we delve into some of the content and exercises. If that's the case, I invite you to deepen your breath and just be with it. Stay with the discomfort and stay on the call. That's part of the magic we're going to explore here today. This kind of work is bound to bring up things that have been stored away and not looked at for a long time, or maybe even ever. I may speak about concepts that you're unfamiliar with. If that's the case, I would like to invite you to trust that some part of you will understand what's being spoken without your mind needing to interpret it. I refer to this as the power of transmission. So the way it works is that as I purposefully intend to give you information on many more levels than just verbal and mental, you can choose to receive it in a similar fashion. If you stay until the end, you'll have a chance to receive some free gifts, and I'll be offering a special opportunity that will only be available for people listening to the call. So sexual wholeness is much more than just a concept to me. Having taken such an arduous journey from sexually wounded to sexually whole, it's become my whole life. It's my passion, my wisdom, my teaching, and it's my embodied reality. As I share this information with you, I invite you to just take what works for you and let go of the rest. Try out the exercises for yourself, adjust them to your liking, or recreate them into whatever serves you best if they don't work for you in the way that I present them. Don't take my word for it. Use your own intuition and authority to determine what is best for you. What I've learned along the way is that the first and most important relationship I have is with myself. As I've brought myself into a state of wholeness, I've noticed that I've attracted people and partnerships and relationships of all kinds that reflect my inner being. And that includes the incredible relationship that I have now with my beloved husband. So when I looked up the definition of wholeness, it was defined as an undivided or unbroken completeness or totality with nothing lacking. Because our sexual energy is the life force that creates us and animates us in our bodies, I believe that sexual wholeness encompasses all of who we are. It's not separate. When we free our sexual energy and use it to feed all aspects of our lives, we have the opportunity to gain full access to our aliveness, our joy, our passion, and it also frees up really an endless stream of creative energy. And we all want that. I know we do. It took me many years to understand that I was not broken or damaged, that really none of us are. What I finally came to realize is that I was an unrefined but multifaceted jewel, just waiting for the right opportunities to polish the many aspects of myself into a clear and shining diamond. And what it took to get there was that stubbornness I mentioned earlier and a willingness to practice again and again the tools that I'll be sharing with you. Let's proceed right into the 5 keys to sexual wholeness. The way that the 5 keys are laid out, we begin by looking inside of ourselves, and then we move toward outer expression. As we come into integrity and congruency inside of ourselves, it's natural for outward expression to follow the same principles. The first key is become aware of your energy body. So what the heck does that mean? Well, the human energy field, which is also sometimes called the aura, is an invisible electromagnetic field that surrounds each of us. When you turn your attention to this invisible field, you may begin to sense subtle information about yourself, and it can be quite powerful. As you connect regularly with your energy body, you begin to refine your ability to see reality as it truly is and feel joy and empowerment even in times of difficulty and tragedy. As you tune in more deeply, you may find opportunities for reclaiming the lost aspects of yourself that can bring you back into wholeness. Oftentimes, challenging life experiences can create a disconnect from our energy body and foster negative beliefs, sadness, anger, illness, and relationship difficulties. As you practice tuning into your energy body, you can actually use the energy of challenging life experiences as fuel to reconnect you to your wholeness and to your inner wisdom and strength as well. This is what's really worked for me. I want to say a little bit about imagination. Your imagination is the gateway to perceiving your energy body. And as you practice tuning into your energy body, you'll come to trust the information that it provides. You may feel inclined to second guess at first and wonder if you're making things up. In essence, what you think you're making up in your imagination is your intuition and your subconscious providing the answers and information that you're seeking. Sometimes information will come in the form of colors or images or sounds, or maybe you'll see a word or a phrase or a symbol. It's kind of the way the subconscious works. Many people, including myself, get this information in the form of feelings, or what I refer to as a knowing. Your imagination is not boxed in by the concepts and beliefs that your mind subscribes to. And sometimes the information you'll get will come as a complete surprise, just out of left field, something that you don't even think you could dream up or think up. As you develop this skill, you may find yourself surprised and delighted by this new channel you can tune into. I know I have. There's such a natural tendency to try hard to not feel when things happen that don't feel good, especially when we're kids in abusive situations, doing our best to survive. The survival skills we learn at a young age tend to follow us into adulthood, long after their usefulness is served. And as a result, we become very good at stuffing away things we don't want to feel. And they can stay stuck in our bodies, perpetuating illness, pain, unhappiness, difficult relationships, and other situations that can leave us feeling like victims. Tuning into your energy body will open up a whole new realm of sensation and sensitivity to what you've been storing. In the sexual empowerment work that I teach, we pay special attention to our lower energy centers below the waist. By lower, I don't necessarily mean in a hierarchical way, just lower down on your body. There's a common tendency to disengage from the lower energy centers when sexual shame or wounding has been part of your experience. And what this leads to is essentially being cut off from your life force. As you become aware of your stored emotions, you create opportunities to address and clear old patterns, negative belief systems, emotions, and stuck energy around your sexuality as they arise rather than unconsciously storing them. And as you become more adept at moving things along, you may notice that your awareness of your energy and its movement becomes more and more finely attuned. The first tool I want to offer to you is called riding the wave. As you start to notice an emotion arising in you, and it might be something old or something you're feeling in the moment, allow yourself to go all the way into it. Think of emotions as waves. They roll in, they peak, they crash, and then they recede. Sometimes when a powerful emotion takes hold of you, it feels like it'll never let you go, but it always does. So if you can ride it like a wave instead of not feeling and stuffing it, you'll actually move completely through it, and it will release its hold on you. Now, emotions are complex, and there may be many layers or waves. But if you just keep riding the waves, you'll find it gets easier and easier. The second key is engage consciously with your energy. Learning to manage the energy you're becoming attuned to is important so that you can keep it flowing and moving inside you and use it to consciously feed and empower you. Managing your energy can be accomplished with any number of practices. Some you might already be using, like Qigong or meditation, yoga, and there's also a wide range of tantric practices, sacred sexuality practices. The most basic of these practices is called grounding. Now, this word is bandied about quite a bit, but do you actually know what it means? If we look at the common usage of the term in electrical wiring, it means a physical connection to the earth for the purpose of regulating voltage. I love that. It's really similar for a grounding practice in our bodies. It brings us all the way back into our bodies and into connection with the earth, bringing our energies back into a centered place, like regulating our voltage. A good grounding practice should leave you feeling focused, refreshed, and strong in your physical body. After the grounding practice, you should feel alert and confident, not necessarily relaxed and dreamy like other kinds of meditation techniques. Here's a simple grounding visualization that you can do in a very short time with some practice. Some people are naturally more grounded than others, and if that's true for you, it may be easier to get this. If that's not true for you, it may take more practice and focus. And there's nothing wrong with being one way or the other. Everybody's a little bit different. I've found for myself that it's very easy for me to ground. And then in my work with people, I've found that there are people that it's not so easy for. So having a practice like this and just continuing to work with it on a regular basis will make it more natural for people that are less inclined to be grounded. If you're in a place now where you can close your eyes, please close them. Plant your feet firmly on the ground or floor, and using that imagination I spoke of earlier, imagine yourself as a tree. As a tree, you have roots. Allow your roots to descend into the earth, weaving naturally through the rocks and soil. Imagine that the roots spread out and grow in the soil, branching out into smaller rootlets. Feel the stability of yourself as a tree. With your next breath, slowly inhale all the way up through your roots into the bottoms of your feet and up your whole body to your brain. As you exhale, let your breath go back down your body and into the earth through your roots. On the next inhale, imagine you're taking in whatever your body needs from the earth through your roots and nourishing yourself with it. And as you exhale, release into the earth whatever no longer serves you. You don't even need to know what it is. Just trust that your energy body will take care of the process. Take one more slow, deep breath. If your eyes are closed, gently open them, and then just take the next few moments of silence to notice how you feel. You can use this exercise anytime you feel scattered, unfocused, confused, or in any way disconnected, and it will help bring you back into your body. Now we're prepared for the third key to sexual wholeness. Release stored emotions safely. So far, I've talked about the ways to tune into your energy body and to begin to work with your own energy. In the third key, we take a big step into the actual clearing process. As long as you're storing emotional material in your body, and that includes sexual shame, wounding, or trauma, you'll draw to you people and situations that will repeat the dynamics that created the original issues. Here's an example from my own life. My second husband came from a broken home. He carried his unhealed wounding into our marriage just as I did. Once the honeymoon phase was over, the remainder of our 13-year marriage was a painful power struggle where we each tried to get the love and acceptance that just wasn't available to us in our childhoods, and neither of us had anything to give the other. Once I got clear of my wounding, I attracted a man who had also been sexually abused in childhood, but who has done his inner work and is healthy, healed, and whole, just as I am. Now, you may be asking yourself, how on earth do I release stored emotions? The first step is an awareness that these feelings exist and that they are taking up space in your body and in your life. And the second step is the willingness and the courage to find ways to access and clear them. It's important to have appropriate support in the process of releasing stored emotion, to have the guidance of someone who can bring a neutral presence and guidance and create the emotional safety that's going to allow you to delve into something that might be painful or difficult to revisit. It doesn't have to be painful or difficult, but it does take some courage to step into something that may have been held at bay for many years. So we can only really begin to touch on the ways in which to begin releasing stored emotions in our short time together. But there are resources available to take you where you want to go, to that place of sexual health and wholeness that I asked you about at the beginning of the call. I'll be sharing my most powerful tools for releasing stored emotions and reclaiming sexual wholeness in an upcoming live 4-day event for women called Reclaiming Aphrodite in Boulder, Colorado, October 18th through the 21st. And I'll have a special pricing offer for those of you that are listening to this call. I'll tell you about that at the end. One of the things I'll be teaching in the workshop is a very specific tool that focuses on the third key, release stored emotions safely. You'll have an opportunity to practice this tool with my support and the support of the other women, and you'll be able to take it home and use it with yourself and share it with others if you like. It was designed by my dear friend and colleague, Caroline Muir, and it's called the Practice of Awe, which stands for Awakening and Healing. Before we move to the fourth key, I would like to offer you the first of two gifts. The second one will be offered at the end of our time together, and it'll help you with accessing and clearing sexual wounding and shame. The first gift is one that's really dear to my heart. The book that I've written that Carolyn mentioned earlier, called Reclaiming Aphrodite, The Journey to Sexual Wholeness, is filled with magical personal stories and tools and exercises for reclaiming sexual wholeness. I've just recently updated it into a second edition and added additional photos and content and a new personal story called Manifesting My Beloved. When I originally wrote the book in 2009, I was single, and I wrote it from that perspective. So it seemed only fitting to bring it up to date with current photos and a happy ending story. You'll find a link to download a PDF of the book on the homepage of my website, and my website is reclaimingaphrodite.com. I'm going to spell it out for you. It's www.reclaimingAphrodite.com. And if you know of others that might be interested in this book, please feel free to forward the link to them. My greatest desire is that the book gets into the hands of the people who will be helped by it. I'm also happy to ship copies to women's shelters, prisons, or any other organizations that would benefit from it, and I'm happy to do that at my own expense. If you know of any organizations that could benefit from a book like this, please email me through my website with contact information for the organization that you're thinking of. Now we'll move on to the fourth key. Express yourself with integrity. Once you become aware of your energy body, you'll probably begin to notice how you're affected by other people and how you affect other people in more subtle ways. What I noticed for myself as I became aware of my own energy was that my unconstrained expression of sexual life force energy was overwhelming and sometimes even damaging to others, and it became imperative for me to bring integrity and consciousness to it. The first step in this is a steady growth in your own awareness, which takes you back to the first key, awareness of your energy body. As you become aware of your own energy body, you'll naturally become aware of others' energy bodies. There's so much going on in these subtle realms and invisible energy exchanges. As you witness how you're being impacted by others, I invite you to simply take note of it. It's not up to you to dictate how others manage their energy. If you're not comfortable with how others are behaving, you can choose to disengage from them and not be hooked into the unconscious byplay. I point this out because of my own tendency to want to control and change others, which is a leftover from my childhood of being powerless and controlled. As you manage your own energies, people will respond to you differently, and sometimes they'll even change in miraculous ways. What I've learned is that the best way I can make a difference on the planet is to heal myself, love myself, and take really good care of myself, and let others do the same for themselves, or not, as they choose. Mastery of your sexual energy opens up many possibilities for connection and intimacy with others that are not necessarily of a sexual nature, but that can feed your soul. As you gain mastery with your internal practices, appropriate external expression will naturally follow. Self-love and self-acceptance begin to permeate your being and radiate outwards. And as you radiate, you effortlessly magnetize to you people, situations, and opportunities that feel right and good. Consequently, negative people and situations seem to vanish from your experience. What I notice in my own life now is that if a situation shows up that feels challenging or negative to me, I do my best to quickly grasp that there's an important lesson or piece of information in it for me, rather than going into victim, although I still sometimes do that. The sooner I can understand what it is, the sooner the feeling of negativity or challenge dissipates. And with practice, I'm able to move through these times of chaos and confusion more quickly and easily, because they never go completely away. Even as healed and whole as I am now, I still run into areas of feeling chaos, confusion, like my life is a mess. And I know when I feel that feeling of chaos, I know there's something there for me, like there's something important. There's gold in that. So that's when I start digging. Okay, the fifth key is cultivate ongoing practices. Sexual wholeness is much more a journey than a destination. Gaining and using practices over a lifetime will ensure an ongoing refinement of your natural state of harmony and balance. The more you practice, the more you'll learn about yourself, and this will naturally lead to deeply satisfying relationships with others. I've personally been on this path of healing and moving into sexual wholeness for almost 13 years. I'm really happy to have gained so many powerful tools that I can call upon when I need them. I'm also happy to be married to a man who is very committed to using the tools with himself as well as in our relationship. It creates a safe crucible or container in which I can fully trust and surrender no matter what is coming up for me. My own ongoing commitment to be in whatever process is arising for me is part of what enables me to claim sexual wholeness now, even though it's an ongoing process. So that could seem like a bit of a paradox, to claim sexual wholeness. But honestly, it's a commitment to a path. And all of us have the opportunity to claim that wholeness. What I'd like to do now is a brief recap of the 5 keys to sexual wholeness. If you have an opportunity now, if you grab a pen, if you want to write them down and just have them all lined up. The first key is become aware of your energy body. The second key is engage consciously with your energy. The third key is release stored emotions safely. The fourth key is express yourself with integrity. And the fifth key is cultivate ongoing practices. And what you've received today is a brief introduction to this material. Like the energy of the feminine, it's not set in stone, but is part of an unfolding flow of information that is based in my own experience. This information will continue to expand as I introduce the practices that will anchor these somewhat esoteric concepts into a grounded, accessible, and concrete body of work. Right now, you are part of something that is just being born after a gestation of many years. And that includes those of you that are listening to the recording as well. Thank you for adding your energy to this beautiful creation. It's important to me to teach and write from my own experience so that I'm bringing you fully embodied concepts. As I demonstrate through my own life what sexual wholeness and empowerment looks like, I have an opportunity to be an ongoing example of what's possible. I'm holding the vision of sexual wholeness for everyone who wishes it, as well as sexual empowerment for our entire society. And while I hold that larger vision, I keep the focus on myself and my own process, knowing that this is the key to planetary healing. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I have a special offer and another gift. As I also mentioned earlier, I'll be sharing my most powerful tools for reclaiming sexual wholeness in a live 4-day event for women called Reclaiming Aphrodite in Boulder, Colorado, and the dates are October 18th through the 21st, coming up really quick. This event takes place in a really special ceremonial temple called the Star House, which was built on 105 acres of pristine land 10 minutes outside of Boulder. The kind of place that you walk into and you can feel the power of the intentions and the sacred geometry that it was built with. The investment for this 4-day event, which begins on Thursday at 7 p.m. and ends on Sunday at 1 p.m., is $347. There is an option to bring a friend and pay together to save $50 each, bringing the price to $297 each. I'd like to make a special offer that's just for you because you're on this call or listening to this recording today. This is not going to be available to the general public, and I've set up a hidden web page that you can access if this is something that you feel ready for, taking this leap into accelerated transformation in a circle of women. And so the website, the hidden web page is the website I mentioned earlier, reclaimingaphrodite.com/offer.html. So it's reclaimingaphrodite.com/OFFER.html. And if you can look that over, and if that draws you, you can register for the live event at the special individual price of $297. So you get the friends price without having to find somebody to sign up with. And I'll have that web page up through the end of this week, through Friday, October 5th, until 8 p.m. Pacific time. I want to give you one of the foundational tools we'll be using in the workshop right now. This tool is the basis for everything in our lives, and it's our breath. So take a moment right now to become aware of your own breath. As you tune in, allow your breath to deepen and slow down, and notice how that feels in your body. Continue to breathe deeply. Now let yourself return to your normal breathing as we pause for just a moment. This is a simple, powerful tool that will serve you in any situation where you feel out of balance, or constricted, afraid, unsure, confused, frightened. Just take a deep breath and continue to take deep breaths, and you'll likely experience at least a slight shift in your state of being. What happens is when we get into these states of confusion or fear, we constrict, and our breathing gets shallow. And that kind of contributes to the constriction. So if we can actually breathe in deeply to the constriction, it loosens it up and changes our state of being. So for those of you who made it this far, I have one more gift for you. I've created a document called Rapid Accessing, which is a process for moving through powerful emotions. And with this tool, it's really helpful to have someone to support you during the experience. You can access this gift on the same page that I mentioned earlier, the one with the workshop registration, reclaimingaphrodite.com/offer.html. And if you scroll down to the bottom below the workshop registration link, there is a downloadable PDF of Rapid Accessing. So I hope that you have enjoyed the 5 keys to sexual wholeness. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's a lot to digest. And I actually have a couple questions and was wondering if you'd be willing to go maybe a little deeper on a couple of the points that you mentioned. Because
yes,
I can
I'd be happy
that,
to.
Yeah. And I might actually already have the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyways, because when you were sharing about I think it was the 4th step, you were talking about our own energy and other people's energy and how to work with that when you feel like I'm using different language, but basically when you're being triggered or when you're feeling a chaotic feeling. How do you, in the situation, how do you manage to just stay with your own energy and not get drawn into somebody else's energy? And the answer might be what the tool that you just shared.
That's a really great question. That is a really great question. So there's really a multifaceted answer to it. But what I will just focus on to answer this question is and this is another piece that I teach in the workshop, which I call powerful presence. So as we come into presence with ourselves, and this kind of comes back to really the first key of becoming aware of your energy body, as we are with ourselves and we gain more awareness about our own energy, we start to have a better understanding of where our energy stops and somebody else's starts, and the ways in which they sort of overlap, and these invisible transactions that we don't see but that we can start to tune into. So as we become aware of who we are, what this container of us is as an individual, then we can start to notice when somebody else is either unconsciously coming in to feed off of our energy or triggering us in some way, and we can bring our attention back to ourselves and our own boundaries. So really, by becoming aware of our own energy, we become aware of our boundaries, and we can make choices about how we want to respond or react, as the case may be, to either being triggered by someone else or being somehow having our space invaded by someone else. And it's always, always, always up to us how we respond. We are always at choice about how we respond to other people. Nobody can ever make us feel anything. So as there's really the component of taking full responsibility for ourselves. And as we come into full responsibility for ourselves, we also realize that we create everything around us. We draw to us particular situations and people. And so again, like I say, it's a multifaceted answer, but that's kind of a short answer.
Mm-hmm. So just for me, I'm just going to kind of reflect this back to see if I got it. So basically, if I'm in a situation where I feel my mind going towards, let's say I had a conflict with somebody, and I keep, throughout the day, I feel my mind going there, and I feel my energy being drained by, the voices in my mind, and just feeling like my energy is going over there a lot, and it might feel to me like, oh, this person is invading my emotional, my energetic space. Basically, to use tools that help me get back in my body, like the breath, and to just focus on my energy and pulling my energy back into myself and leaving whatever is theirs up to them. Is that kind of like what you're talking about?
Very much so. Yes, that's an excellent summary of it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's like a very, and also what you were talking about, the 100% responsibility. Oftentimes, or most of us that have experienced sexual abuse, we struggle with power so much throughout our lives, and to come to a place where we can realize that we are actually the creators of our experience, and it's not just some new age, law of attraction, the secret kind of talk. It's really true that we have the power, and we're the ones that create, especially the way we react to our life, and that's how we create our life experience. Our reactions to what comes to us is how we create our life experience. At least that's my opinion and my experience.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I also wanted to thank you for. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I would just add to that we create our own life experience whether we are aware of what we're creating or not. So we can either choose to do it very consciously, or we can allow it to continue to be created unconsciously. But for most of us, it's a combination. For all of us, really, It's a combination of some conscious and some unconscious. But the more we can get conscious, the more we can create exactly what we want.
Yeah. And I'm actually finding in my life that sitting down and thinking things through and thinking about how I want things to go, and then figuring out what I can do to make that happen, what proactive steps I can do. And this is very much against my nature because I'm a doer. I just do things. That's been really helpful in terms of creating the life that I want, to really say, okay, I'm taking an active role, and I'm not just going to let things happen. I'm going to sit down and not just visualize and have like wishful thinking, but actually think about the end result I want to have, and think about ways that from my point where I am now, steps that I can take, to make that a reality. Whether it's speaking to somebody, asking for a resource, whatever it might be, getting sleep, all these things. And I think that ties in with taking really good care of ourselves. So,
yes, absolutely. What I've noticed for myself along these lines, because like you, I'm also a doer, is I'm learning as I come more and more into my feminine, I'm learning how powerful it is, the space of stillness and emptiness and beingness. So it's important to have a balance between, like you said, the sort of sitting and thinking or dreaming about what we might want in our lives and the taking steps of action, and to also understand that if it's all about action, that's not necessarily balanced. So I love what you're saying about taking the time to just be with yourself and be with what your desires are without just it always being about action. I think that's very balanced.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really part of it also is to allow yourself to have the dreams that you have. For me, it was a huge step to say this is really what I want, and I'm allowing myself to have that. Because there's lots of voices that will say, well, you'll never get there. Why you, all of that. So for me, the allowing of the desires, which ties into the feminine, for me, was a very important step too.
I think of it can feel risky sometimes to dream big dreams, but if we don't dream the big dreams, we're not going to be able to really be open to receiving what comes towards us. And I would just use an example from my own life. I was single for 8 years and wishing for my beloved, and I had done every manifestation exercise that I knew. It was an ongoing process for me. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wasn't going to settle for anything less than my beloved. And I dreamed big. I dreamed way bigger than I thought I could have, than I thought I deserved. And I got it. I got it and a whole lot more. So I believe now. I believe that it's worth the risk.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe that, we have our dreams because that's who we are meant to authentically be, and this whole journey is about, coming back into wholeness so we can be the person or the woman that we were meant to be and live authentically. So to wrap up the call today, I really wanted to thank you for your generous offer. I wish I could come, but I'll be in Germany. There will be a far trip for me to make. So I'll have to pass on this one, but it's really a great offer, and I wish that as many people as possible that are listening can come and experience 4 days with you, 3.5 days with you, and other women on the same journey. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
So is there any last words that you want to share with us?
I just want to really acknowledge and appreciate what you're creating and your dedication, your mission to getting the information out there to help people come into sexual wholeness. And I know that you're very, very committed to this. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the sisterhood of knowing you. And I'm very honored to have had this opportunity to speak with your audience, your tribe, your people. So thank you so much for having me, Carolyn.
You're very welcome. Have a wonderful workshop in Boulder.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it, really excited about it. This will be the debut of the Reclaiming Aphrodite workshops. And actually I should mention that for those who can't make it to Boulder and who are interested in this work, the next workshop is being planned for Maui, where I live, in March 1st through the 3rd of 2013.
Great. Well, thank you so much, and I hope to have you back at some point.
I would love that. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
Bye.